All right, so this is the AI in Education Module 1, Introducing AI from Salinas Union High School District. This is a repeat of what was presented to teachers in January in person. And my name is Jen Rodgers. I'm an Educational Technology Specialist for Salinas Union High School District. And we are going to be talking about what is AI, how does AI work. We're going to look at some potential problems and how to mitigate those. And we're going to look at some apps to try and test some things out. We're also going to look at writing prompts and the art of prompt writing and what the next steps are. And this is module 1 of module 2 of 2 modules that we have so far, but we are going to be continuing to have more modules as the school year goes on. So as always, feel free to ask questions and let's get started. So what is AI? AI is basically just a very complicated algorithm programming where it attempts to simulate human intelligence, but I fully believe that nothing can fully simulate human intelligence. That where the computer actually is trying to perform tasks that typically require human cognitive functions. So AI can actually learn from us and from what we've supplied it. So it can analyze data, learn from it, and then make decisions and perform actions based on the data, what was input, and it changes as it learns more. So it's machines that are learning from us and from what is out there in the internet and available for anything that's available digitally, really. All right, so there are 2 different types of AI. And the one that has been around the most, that we have seen the most, is predictive AI. This is one that you may not have realized was AI, but is, oh, hold on, I'm sorry. Something weird happened to my computer. There we go. I apologize. Give me 30 seconds of your patience. There we go. Okay, let's start that again. Sorry. Okay, so predictive AI is what's been around the longest, that in the public domain anyway. So this is the type of AI that uses historical data to make predictions, and so it's analyzing the data that's out there, trends and things like that, to make predictions about maybe what you might want to watch on Netflix or YouTube. So if you are a user of either of those platforms, you know that when you go to YouTube, if you watch a lot of cat videos, it's going to suggest a lot of cat videos for you to watch. If you watch a lot of political videos, you're going to see a lot of political videos. And if you watch both, you're going to see that. But you're not going to necessarily see videos about cars or things like that if that's not something that you have looked for regularly. So that is predictive AI. It is taking the trends of what you like and what also people who have the same demographics of you also like. So you will see things that are not based on just your history, but also the demographics and what other people that are similar to you would like. And the same thing goes for Amazon. You know, Amazon is a very good business model at making you spend your money, and I am very guilty of that. But they take the history of what you buy, what you search for, what people similar to you buy and search for, and to give you those suggestions. And all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I definitely need that thing that Amazon says that I need, which I really don't, but you know, it's there and it's, hey, look, it's on sale for Prime Day. You know, they're real good at that. So that is a type of AI. It also is used in banking and financial forecasting and climate forecasting and things like that. But then generative AI is the one that has really hit the public domain in the last couple of years with the introduction of ChatGPT back in November of 2022, when everybody like freaked out. This is a thing that exists. Oh my God, look what this can do. This is both terrifying and amazing, and or one or the other depending on your viewpoints. And it is where it actually generates new content. So it is taking the interactions with the user, yourself, what you put into it as a prompt, which we'll talk about shortly, and also the data out there that it can access and create content such as text, images, music, etc. So it is generating versus predicting. Okay, so let's talk about a prompt. When you are entering anything into AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, even the ones that we use in our district that have AI components such as quizzes, formative, Canva, all of those things. Whatever you're writing in, you're putting in as your input is your prompt. And so there's like a very big art to prompt writing. And if you are good at writing prompts, there is jobs out there that pay a lot of money for you to practice your prompt writing and to learn more about AI as well. So that's called prompt engineering, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So the way prompts work is that the user yourself types in a prompt. And if you come to the second module, you see that there's other ways to enter a prompt in one of the activities we'll do. The system interprets the prompt and provides a unique answer based on that prompt. So the thing about AI is you're never going to get the same response, the same output twice, even if you have the same prompt. And we're also going to look at that with image creation and things like that in module 2. But this, like myself and Servando, we could go to ChatGPT right now, put in exactly the same prompt, copy and paste it. We're going to get different responses. It might have the same general information, but word for word is going to be different. And as I said, the more you practice writing prompts and the more information you get about it, the better you'll become. But there is a whole market out there for prompt writers. And so prompt engineering is something that where professional prompt engineers, they'll spend, their job is literally to write prompts to figure out how AI works and what makes it tick and how the different types of verbiage and vocabulary and action words and all of that are taken in by AI and how that affects the output. So this is actually a job out there in the world, is to be a prompt engineer, and they make an unbelievable amount of money in the right setting. But also companies are looking for prompt writers as well that can help support the work that they do. So I don't have a very good example of that, but I have seen the job descriptions and the pay, and we're talking in the like 300,000 range for some things I've seen. So, that sounds kind of amazing. Maybe you could buy a house in California. So here's an example of a prompt. And sorry, one second, down here where it says prompt, a teacher sitting at a desk by themselves, creating a lesson for a class in a dimly lit room. The desk is a bit messy and the teacher looks stressed. So this is a prompt that was put into an image creator. And this is the image that came out. There probably was like a few images that came out. Usually they give you like 4 to choose from, but that's an example of a prompt. And this is an example of prompt for image creation. It's going to be a little bit different if you're trying to create a lesson or use it to write email or things like that. So we are actually going to talk about prompt recipes for using text prompts to get text responses. And so on the next slide, we have a prompt recipe. And this is actually provided to us by, something that was provided by Google for Gemini, specifically for, well, it can be used for many different things, but in the demonstration and what we were doing in the Gemini, they called it immersive experience. It was to write lesson plans or educational related things. So this prompt recipe, and it's not the ultimate prompt recipe, it's just an example. There's a lot of recipes out there. Starts with a persona. So who is the request coming from? And so that would be the user or the person who is trying to get the output for their personal use. So in my case, it would be, I'm an educational technology specialist in California at a high school district serving 7 through 12. So it's giving AI information on who I am, right? Like what to help really what I might need. And then there's the aim. So what do you want to achieve, or what outcome do you want AI to produce? So if I was using this to write, let's say I wanted to write an outline for a PD about AI, my aim would be create an outline for an hour-long PD about introducing teachers to the idea of AI. And maybe I'd even give it a little bit more information, talking about the pros and cons and how they might use it in the classroom. Just this is coming off the top of my head because we're doing an AI training right now. Recipient, who is the target audience for the product you're asking AI to create? So for me, the target audience would be teachers in a high school district from grades 7 through 12, teaching all of all of the subjects, whatever it might be. I did not use this prompt to make the slides. I'm literally making this up as I go because this is an example. Actually, these slides were created by a group of people in the AI committee, Andrew Rodriguez, who's no longer with our district, being one of the main creators of these slides. So they've been used and adapted since then. And then this prompt recipe specifically was just added by me recently because it was something I learned at the ISTE conference this summer. Theme, what do you want the product to be about? So I want this PD to be about the pros and cons of using AI in the classroom and to give examples of how teachers might use it, or how it's a little bit different than the aim, but it's similar, but still different. And then the structure. How do you want the document or text to be structured? So what do I want the actual words on the page to look like? So maybe I want it to be a bulleted outline with timestamps next to each bullet of how long it might take. So let's do some practice. I am going to put a
Jen, I have a question about the persona. I thought we were supposed to give the persona to AI. So for example, if I wanted to get if I wanted to have AI provide me with a workout schedule, I would say something like, you are a swim coach who is going to provide me with a half an hour swim program. And so the persona was not who I am, but who I want it to be when it's doing my request or my prompt.
Yeah, and I've actually seen it both ways, and it works the same. It's just a matter of how you talk to AI, so to speak. If you talk in the you're making AI basically you, or if you're this is who I am and what I want from you. So it works both ways.
Okay, cool.
It's the same idea. Yeah, good question. Okay, so I am going to give you a link to a Canva slide that to a Canva document. Actually, it is a whiteboard style. So this will require you to be signed into your district account for Canva. So here is the link, and I'm going to share this tab. Let me pin. Before you do anything, actually, yeah, if you clicked on that link already, please don't do anything yet. I probably should have waited till I gave it to you, but that's okay. So just watch on either Canva or on the screen on the Meet of what we're doing, because we're going to do the first part together. So before we start actually practicing, I want to show you what this is. So this is Canva's whiteboard feature, which is kind of like Jamboard if Jamboard had I don't want to say if it was on crack, because that's not appropriate, but you get the idea. So it's basically what I would use in place of Jamboard since it's going away, and it has way more features and options. Jamboard was very limited, but this is their whiteboard. So down here on the bottom, you can see my slider of my zoom in and zoom out. So there is a lot of space, and this is if you're looking at, and if you are on Canva, please move your cursors off to the side and just watch on the Google Meet right now so it doesn't interrupt. But this is zoomed all the way out. You can see that there's a lot of space on this whiteboard space. So it's kind of similar to what the viewboard whiteboard space has. And then if I zoom in, you can get to a little bit more of a usable space for what you're looking for. And I actually, if you look at my text size, I'm at text size 48 font in these little sticky notes. So I could actually make all of this much smaller and have much more room. So it can be a little bit daunting until it'll more practice and whatnot will help. So what we're going to do together in our step 1 of GRR is I'm not step 1, but our redo stage of GRR is to look at some parts of a prompt and identify which part they are: persona, aim, recipient, theme, or structure. So you're not doing anything on Canva right now, just watching on the screen. So in the chat, I'm going to read the statements on these sticky notes, and you have your slides open so you can see the prompt recipe, this one right here. So you can see what the different parts are. And then in the chat, you're going to tell me whether the part of the prompt that I just read, which one it goes into. So the first one is the target audience, 8th grade history students with some experience reading primary docs. So in the chat is that persona, aim, recipient, theme, or structure. Go. Okay, we have 2 recipient, 3 recipient. Everybody in agreement? Okay. I agree too. That one kind of has a giveaway of the target audience being the first part of the sentence, but that's okay. Let's go with provide a lesson plan as a table with time markers for each activity. So provide the lesson plan with a table as a table with time markers for each activity. Is that persona, aim, theme, or structure? So let's look at how it's worded. It's provided as a table with time markers for each activity. Okay, so we have some change in our answers. Now back to structure. And yes, so this is actually asking for the structure to be in a table format. So that is going to be down here in table structure. All right, the next one, write a lesson plan that will help my students achieve reading primary documents. So persona, aim, or theme. Aim. That's what I'm seeing. Yes. And so this is a good example of the difference between aim and theme. So the next one says the lesson should be focused around the Gettysburg Address. What do you think that would be? Theme. Yes. So you can see the difference. This is a good example to show you the difference between aim and theme. Aim is what you want them to create. You want them to create a lesson plan that will help students achieve this thing. And the theme is what the lesson plan would be about the Gettysburg Address. So then the last one is the persona. I'm an 8th grade history teacher at a small rural high school. So there you go. Good job. A+ for we do section. Okay, so now if you haven't already opened up Canva, go ahead and click on that link in the chat and go to Canva. And we are going to take some time to practice writing a prompt using this particular recipe. So this is going to be very interesting as we go, because this is going to be a new experience for many of you to have multiple people working on a Canva whiteboard. So there's definitely some learning curve and some growing pains when you do this. I did learn something yesterday where I actually was able to lock the position of this table so that people couldn't move it around, because that was a struggle we had yesterday. So you're going to put your name in the first column, and then you're going to work on practice writing a prompt using this recipe, going across your row with persona, aim, recipient, theme, and structure. So just pick any row that doesn't have somebody already typing in it and put your name. That is you claiming that row, similar to how you would claim a Google slide if you were doing collaborative Google Slides, but just on a table. And it can be a little distracting and a lot with, as you see people's names and cursors moving around, but you can also see how there could be some benefits to this if you have collaborative with a collaborative whiteboard like this with your students, especially if they're working in small groups. So again, claim a row that has not already been claimed. With the first column, write your name, and then that is your row, and you can type your practice prompt. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Uh-oh, somebody moved my table. Let's not move the table. I thought I had locked the position, but I'm gonna move it back. Let's lock position only. There we go. So I made a copy of this from what we did yesterday in the same session, and apparently learning myself, the lock the table part didn't stick on the copy. So there you go. It's okay, Jamie. It's a learning process. No worries. You can see it's definitely one of those tools you would want to practice using before you start using it with your class. And as you're playing with this, is there any questions that are coming up for you, or any ahas that you would like to share with the group? I like this, Mr. Green. You're a substitute that has no lesson plan. That's always the worst feeling. I remember that. And so I like how you're using this as an idea to help you in the real world. If you walk in that morning and you're like, oh, I need something right now, help me out. It's a great superpower to have. Steve, as you are writing this, keep in mind that if the AI wouldn't know that these are the persona, the aim, and all of that stuff. So if you were actually putting this into ChatGPT or whatever else it might be, you would have to actually use sentences to give it the information it needs. And that goes for other people as well who are, but it's giving you the parts and then you can put it into sentences and whatnot later. I love this, Richard, you have provide a graphic organizer for students to fill in. That's awesome. Okay, we'll have about 1 more minute for this because I would like to give us time to actually try some things and maybe put these prompts into a real chat bot and see what happens. All right, so go ahead and wrap up your last thoughts and let's return our focus to the slides. If you can leave the Canva open, but if I can have your attention removed from the Canva for a moment, we might be able to come back to it and use those prompts in an actual AI program. But for now, let's move on and talk about AI tools and practical uses. So we kind of looked at how this could help with lesson planning just now in our prompt practice. That was the third bullet point down. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Yes, okay. So you could also, there's some other things that might be used practical uses for you, such as editing. And I know that I have used it for helping to write emails and editing emails that I've written. I can tend to be a little wordy in emails, and I know that about myself. So I'm always stopping and looking at this stuff before I send it so that I can, limit it, because we know how busy everybody is and how full email can get. So I've used it that way a lot, and as well as like even just helping getting me started. I had a brain block trying to write a opening paragraph describing one of our tools, and I was just like, I'm having a brain block. I don't know how to start this description. And I put it into ChatGPT. This was like last year sometime. And it gave me an opening paragraph. And it was fine. It was okay, but it wasn't from me. But it was it was a starting place, right? It was getting my brain thinking. It gave me a place that I can then from there take what it gave me and turn it into my own. So that's another thing I want to point out, is that just because AI spits it out doesn't mean you have to use it. And it doesn't mean you have to use it exactly as it is. So in fact, I highly encourage you to really comb through anything it spits out at you and put it in your own voice. Make sure it matches what you're looking. Make sure that it's accurate, because it's not always accurate. We know that everything on the internet is not accurate. And so if that's its source, you really got to come at it with a critical eye. And that is one of the things that we need to make sure our students learn as they become more literate in AI, which is we'll talk more about in the second module. And it also helps to minimize busy work with some of the administrative tasks, freeing up time for you to actually get the real important work done with our students. Image generation is a great way to explore creativity, which we will also look at in module 2. And an idea of using it for differentiating work to personalized learning to help it match our students' needs. You can put something in and ask it for ideas on how to, this reading might reach students of different learning modalities, such as, audio or visual learners or whatever it might be. You can have it change the reading level of a passage, and also just use it as a thought partner for ideas on how to accomplish these things. So we did practice some prompts already. Here's some examples of, like, I guess you'd call them sentence starters or sentence frames for educators to help write an email to staff that thanks them for maybe attending a training or whatever it might be. Explain the concept of hydrothermal energy in a simplified manner using at least 2 analogies. Write a 5-question multiple choice exit ticket about XYZ. And that is something that is actually built into the AI parts of the programs that we already have, such as quizzes, formative, drawing a blank on the other one that has that will actually write a question for you. But yeah, so just some examples. And then if you are interested in more about prompt engineering, this is a course specifically for prompt engineering in ChatGPT. It's a free course. There's a link there on the slides if you're interested. Just a little resource for you. So let's talk quickly about some potential problems or concerns that we have about this. And so I know that I hear a lot of teachers being like, I don't want my students just to depend on AI. I don't want them to lose their own creativity and imagination and ideas because they just put it into AI and it spits something out for them. And so that is a concern. And obviously we don't want our students to do that because our students' brains have way more ideas and independent thinking than just what AI can spit out. So this is where having a strong discourse with our students about AI literacy and why, what they actually need in order to use AI effectively and still have their own ideas. One of the things that has come up a lot for me is the importance of having strong language to really be able to write a strong prompt. If you don't have the language capabilities to tell AI what you need, you're not going to get what you need. So just because it's there doesn't mean that it's something that students are automatically going to be able to use effectively. The other thing is that the students have to have, and people in general have to have background knowledge about what is they're looking for to understand if what comes out of AI is accurate or not, because it's not always going to be accurate. AI has something called hallucinations, which is just stuff that ends up in there that shouldn't be there. And so an example of this happened yesterday. I put in something and it had a sentence at the end that was basically like a wrap-up sentence, and it had a word that was German. I think it was German, yeah. And and it didn't actually mean anything in the sentence, even when I translated it. So that would be an example of a hallucination in text. Hallucination in like imagery would be, ask for a picture of a student playing basketball and the student has like 3 arms, or their eyeballs on top of their head, or the basketball is, a square or something like that. So it's not perfect, and it does have one incorrect information does come out, and hallucinations and all that stuff. So the students do have to have background knowledge and language acquisition to effectively use it. And then privacy and data concerns are a huge issue as well. And we're going to talk a lot about that in the second module as well. But when you are using AI, to make sure that you are not putting in any personal information, names, addresses, numbers, identifying information, location, any of those kind of things, do not need to go into AI. Replace names with pronouns or fake names. I've heard of teachers using it to help them write IEPs, which is fine, but don't put personal information in identifying anything about that student. Obviously student ID numbers, addresses, names. The way I would actually see it more effective is asking it to help you write the parts of it, so you can identify, I have an 8th grade male student with ADHD and auditory processing that needs accommodations for this, and then to be included in their IEP. So nothing about that is identifying which student has ADHD and audio processing, but you're still going to get an ideas of potential, what's the word I'm looking for, accommodations for that student. And again, you're the expert. If those accommodations are going to actually work for that student. It does not replace the expertise and professionalism of a teacher. Nothing really ever will, thank God, thankfully. All right, so let's take a few minutes to play around. I would recommend either picking ChatGPT or Claude to try putting in your prompts and seeing what it comes out with. If you are looking more specifically to play with the apps that we already have, such as Quizzes and Formative, and you want AI to write a quiz for you or something along those lines, go ahead, you can click on those and try those out. Magic School is education specific. We were considering maybe using Magic School in our district, but with some of the changes that have happened since we thought about this, we're leaning more towards Gemini. So it's also much better price, and the security is better. So more to come on that later. But for example, we're going to take 5-6 minutes to play. So maybe you can go back to the prompt recipe that you wrote in Canva and take either your sentences or somebody else's sentences, if you want to try something that somebody else wrote, and copy and paste it into ChatGPT and see what you come out with. See if it gives you a lesson plan that is workable. And of course, feel free to ask questions or share what came up for you, how it worked, Any ahas? So let's 5-6 minutes to play around, and then we'll wrap up before. Yeah, I think I'm gonna also do this with you. See what comes up. It'll be interesting. I'm gonna do Julio's prompt and see if Julio also does his prompt, how different our responses. Okay, so I have copied and pasted Jorge's entire prompt into ChatGPT. Let's see what comes up with. Deborah, ChatGPT is not allowed for anybody under 18. So it needs your birthday to ensure that you are not a minor, which is why our students can't use it. I like how they have these, I'm losing the word again, my words are not working. Not a caveat, but a disclaimer. ChatGPT can make mistakes, check important info. That's a new addition down there. And they also have don't share sensitive info. Chats may be reviewed and used to train our models. I like that they have that. So I'm curious, Jorge, did you also put your prompt in, or are you practicing with something else? Still putting prompt in. Okay, cool. Be curious to see what you get versus what I got. I got a list of tips and techniques to help handle student behavior. So I'm curious, is anything coming up for anybody? Are there any ahas or any questions or anything you want to share with the group? I love learning from you all. All right, about another 30 seconds so we can stop playing around. And if you bring you back, we can wrap up our session. All right, so if I can bring you back to our Google Meet, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up pretty quick. So I do see a comment from Cecilia. I should have put a quick short lesson plan. It gave me a 60-minute lesson plan. Okay, yeah, so being able to see like what it gives you versus what you need can help you to write a more effective prompt. Cool. Anybody else have anything to share? I'm going to go ahead and stop recording so that if you have any questions you want to feel more comfortable not being recorded.